QLA mentees and devotees. I'm embarking on this new podcast that will be audio only. Our first project is going to be for me to personally read The First 100 Million, second edition, and I will endeavor to read portions of this from the beginning to the end over the next several months. It's going to take quite a long time, and I hope you enjoy it. Your First 100 Million. Dedication. In this book you're about to read, I talk about the importance of mentors as a quantum leap to wisdom. Years ago, as a young hotshot in the corporate world, I learned the secrets of super success from three gentlemen who mentored me at critical times in my life. Constantine Costa-Gratsos has made his fortune as a lifelong associate of shipping icon Aristotle Onassis. He took a liking to me, became my first mentor, and showed me how to swim in the deep, dangerous waters of business. Jim Newman, the second visionary who created the term comfort zone, showed me how to expand my horizons. Thanks to Jim, after I attended one of his PACE seminars in 1978, I moved out of my comfort zone at Bear Stearns and became a super successful oil man. Jerry Ormond was already a legendary Texas oil man when I met him, yet he took the time to introduce me to fine points of the oil business and how to survive and prosper amid the chaos of a rough and tumble industry. Jerry, Jim, Costa, this book is gratefully dedicated to you. Prologue. The Price of Fear, the Reward of Courage. As this book goes to press, the financial world is free-falling through the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Men of wealth and presumed integrity in the financial world have committed treachery on the scale of uncounted billions of dollars, affecting millions of ordinary people around the globe. Bernie Madoff is the most despicable of these pirates in pinstripe, committing fraud of some $50 billion, deceiving even the closest associates and oldest friends. By March 2009, Bernie was in custody while lawyers bickered over the bones of his frozen estates, and he awaited his turn to plead guilty in court. So what, says his victims, our life savings have vanished. We cannot change the past, only recover from it, and perhaps learn its crucial lessons. The first lesson is this: paralysis of fear can cost dearly, while the rewards of determined courage are incalculable. In the meantime, concealed amid the carnage of financial ruin, there are stocks that dare to offer the prospect of profit. B2C, our own investing group, for example, is engaged more in contravesting than investing, looking for stocks anywhere in the world that are undervalued, most paying dividends. We think this period of bear market is an excellent opportunity to reach boldly for the bargains that are out there. Our advice as you seek to venture into the heady whitewaters of business acquisitions, dream team building, and quantum leap expansion is to take courage. Grasp chaos, force change, and follow the methodologies you're about to read. One day, sooner than you could have imagined, the financial nightmare of the first decade of this millennium will be a harsh but fading memory, and you'll have survived to be a super success you know you could be. Forward by Dr. Klaus Kleinfeld, former CEO of Siemens AG. Congratulations! You have chosen an extraordinary book that describes a step-by-step framework and methodology for building a super successful business from scratch while attaining the skill sets of a high-performance person. The precepts described in this book are straightforward yet very powerful. The author Daniel S. Pena has put into simple words how he achieved success at the highest level, starting with nothing more than a dream and a passion to succeed. I strongly recommend Your First 100 Million for those who have a dream, little or no capital, and desire a roadmap to build a significant net worth and achieve the life of a high-performance person. It is written in the style that will ingratiate you to the author, because he tells it exactly like it is, with no varnish or hesitation. At times you may even be shocked by how he describes what it takes to be a high-performance person and achieve your dreams in today's rough and tumble, ever-changing business environment. He calls his precepts and methodology QLA, or Quantum Leap Advantage, and it's based on his almost 40-year personal worldwide track record of success. Over many years, Dan has become a very good friend. I know Dan's comments might often raise your eyebrow with his candor. However, you will truly enjoy hearing what it takes to succeed from someone who has really lived it. And you can tell this isn't theory because he gives you real examples from his life and those he has coached and mentored. Dan has operated in the same real world you do every day and succeeded against all odds. But more importantly, countless devotees have used Kyo-Lei successfully and achieved their dreams and goals. Read this book, and I know it can be the first step towards the realization of your dreams and being a successful high-performance person. All the very best, Klaus Kleinfeld. Introduction. Your Quantum Leap Advantage. Always try to go into business with an unfair advantage. You will never have read a business book like this one. Because you hold the special edition, you may have heard me speak. You may have even been to my castle. You may even be a business partner. So you'll realize immediately this book is written the way I talk to audiences at my Quantum Leap Advantage seminars. You'll also understand it's not a book for everybody because success and the wealth it brings isn't for everybody. But I know you'll profit from it because it captures under one cover all the Quantum Leap strategies I've been pounding into people's heads for several years now. Because sections of the bookstores and libraries across America and the UK and Europe are packed with books that tell you how to become a successful entrepreneur, some of them are written by men and women who have achieved respectable levels of success. Others are written by professors who understand business as a theory but have never had their own business. These books typically take the reader through the step-by-step mechanics of starting, growing, and ultimately selling a business. Others are manuals that cover taking a company public, tax issues, raising capital, and other topics an entry-level entrepreneur needs to know. They include checklists, graphs, and formats for business plans and letters of intent. There are probably nuggets of how-to information in these books, but I found most of them to be as flat as lifeless as roadkill. But more to the point, none of these books tells you how to prepare your mind for being super successful. They skip over how to adjust your perspective just slightly so that you can take what I call a quantum leap, make millions of dollars, and do it over and over again. What if you had success to the secrets of a man who has the strength, skills, and self-confidence to make a quantum leap, one quantum leap after another, even make them simultaneously, and knows he will ultimately become a billionaire before he quits? What if you could receive, in his own words, the wisdom of the active multimillionaire, not one of those real estate rich morons or some silk-suited seminar mooches, but a man who took his own energy corporation from $820 investment to an incredible $400 million in market capitalization in just 8 years. That's what this book is all about. It's about achieving the mental toughness and laser beam focus you'll need to make a ton of money. I packed this book from beginning to end with the same strategies I've been thundering across the financial capitals of 5 continents. But I've left most of the detailed checklist to the pedantic crowd of pedestrian business people and dusty professors who write those books, how to. Putting it another way, most business writers give you some weapons, or at least a weapon manual, and send you out to face the realities of business. Through my Quantum Leap methodology, I show you how to prepare and focus your mind and spirit for executive battle against entrenched institutions, vicious corporate assassins, and those naysayers of success, the purveyors of conventional wisdom. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do that, because you can. That's Quantum Leap difference. They used to call me crazy, and worse. They'd say, Dan, you can't do that. And by God, I'd do it. Then when I made my first few $1 million, they started calling me controversial. A London newspaper labeled me the most controversial man in London in the 80s. A public figure is controversial when he's got too much money and influence to be called crazy. Besides, he may be crazy enough to sue you into oblivion. My British advisors would shiver and say, Dan, you can't do that. So I did it. Now in my early 50s, I'm mellowing into eccentric. I thought I would stay retired. I sure as hell don't have to work, But then I realized what poor advice most people are being fed about success by feel-good frauds in the personal development field. You've seen them grinning and charming on TV. You know who I'm talking about. I've become a business success coach to a selected group of entrepreneurs who I feel have seemingly boundless energy and determination to become super successful. I also conduct seminars in the U.S., United Kingdom, and EU, and at my 15th century home Guthrie Castle near the North Sea above Edinburgh, Scotland. Through my UK enterprise, the Quantum Leap organization, my associates and I identify entrepreneurs and mature them along in pursuit of their dream. The success stories coming to fruition in Scotland and England are proving what I've said all along. The Quantum Leap strategies are universal in their application. You can sell a solicitor, a proper city gent in London on your dream as easily as you can a lawyer in the United States, and you can take £500,000 from the Bank of Scotland as smoothly as you can from the second vice president of Citicorp. I call my basic seminar the Quantum Leap Advantage, and I deliver others as well on more specific entrepreneurial topics. There are all hard-hitting, no-nonsense seminars packed with the brutal truth about making big money and are delivered in your face. One attendee wrote on his critique sheet, "Dan Pena is the bulldozer of knowledge." I like that. This book, in content and tone, is an extension of those seminars. It is my answer to the question I get continuously. Dan, you've said so much in 3 days. Dan, do you have something I can take home and read? I do have such a book written in the late 90s, and the QLA strategy methodology. How do you make your first 100 million as relevant as today as it was then? Like any good recipe, the QLA recipe for high performance and super never goes out of date. But since our first publication, so much has happened in the world, the global economy and the business community, so I decided to update the book in time for the second decade of this century and for a new generation of passionate, fired-up entrepreneurial achievers, maybe like you. Bear in mind that I didn't write this book to make you feel good inside or stroke your self-esteem. Instead, I give you the unvarnished truth you deserve about how corporate business really works and how you need to think, feel, train, and be prepared to make the system work for you so you can take your first quantum leap and begin building your own dream. Chapter 1. Super success not for the touchy-feely. Super success is not for the wishy-washy. Victory in business, like war, comes to the toughest son of a bitch in the valley. This is a book about making money. I don't mean a few extra bucks in your spare time. Any moron can do that. I don't mean increasing your sales 20% or buying real estate or getting into a discount mortgage scam. I'm talking about making so much money you can't count it. You have to weigh it. This is no get-rich-quick book either. Get-rich-quick implies get-rich-easy. And if you think you can get rich easy in today's world, you're either about to murder your rich uncle or you're stupid. Nor is it for those wealth without risk books. Accumulating money without taking risk is a fantasy fed to the faint-hearted or the elderly who are so much interested in achieving wealth as they are terrified of becoming poor. The high performers, the super successful, do take risk. I sure did. Still do. Anybody who's not taking risks in business is not making real money. There is no super success without risk. There just isn't. And no safety in being a high-performance person. If you want safety, this book isn't for you. Finally, this book is not a book to help you feel better about yourself. Conventional wisdom is that if you feel good about yourself, you'll make money. And you'll see if you read on, I grew a company to over $400 million in real market value, working on the premise that all conventional wisdom is crap. The truth is that when you make a lot of money, then you feel good about yourself. Author's note. And since this second edition was written, published in 2009, in the last 6 years, and having coached many thousands since then, and I'm told hundreds of thousands, if not millions, have been touched by my material, which is all free, I'm even more convinced that conventional wisdom is almost always wrong. End of author's note. So why should you read on? Here are some reasons. I built from scratch more dollar value than any other personal development or business success coach who will ever try to sell you a book. I've lost more money in just one bad deal than a lot of those slick-suited guys on the feel-good, get-rich lecture circuit ever made in their whole lives. What else? I made over 75,000 business decisions during my 37-year career. That's probably 70,000 more than anyone who read this book or anyone selling success books and tapes. I've made more than 600 financial presentations on 5 continents, all but Antarctica. There's no money there, raising over $1 billion during times nobody else could raise a cent. And in between, I've logged millions of miles in travel, thousands of nights in hotels, thousands of business meetings, and more than 250,000 business phone conversations. If anybody wants to talk about more business experience in my past 37 years than Dan Pena in the trenches or in the peaks, let me know. Author's note. It is now almost 45 years that I've been in business, and the business decisions, I stopped counting at about 85,000. I've been involved in many more than 600 financial presentations since then. But since this book was written in 2009, I visited Antarctica and the North Pole just to see if there was business, and my wife and I had our wedding vows renewed there. End of author's note. You should also read on because if you can handle it, this book is written for you. I'm writing to aspiring entrepreneurs who have the fire in their belly to achieve super success. I'm talking to the owners of small or mid-sized businesses, people who are already successful and want more, and the CEOs, directors, and other top executives of companies who are now looking for geometric growth in a competitive, unforgiving marketplace. In short, this book is for serious players. But beyond the circle of capitalists, anyone who seeks a greater degree of success in their life can benefit from this book. To borrow from Joe Batten, the advertising legend and mentor to Ross Perot, whose accounts include the United States Army, I'm writing for you if you want to be all you can be. Now that you've bought me, I assume that you haven't browsed this far. Let me assure you that I've got more for you between these covers than you'll find in the entire library of Sutzi proverbs and platitudes, hence the cover price. Author's note, Joe Batten, I had the privilege of being his partner. Joe Batten, some 20 years ago, told me after he heard me speak the first time, Dan, if you stay at it, and it's hard to stay at it because it can be an unforgiving business, he was talking about coaching other people, you'll be one of the best, if not the best. End of author's note. When I retired the second time, a few years ago, I quickly got bored with doing nothing. I gradually became interested in sharing the brutal truths I had learned in the business world with others. After all, I had made tens of millions before I was 40. Why not pass along the benefit of years of experience to those who were on the cusp of success so that they could enjoy extraordinary business achievements of their own, and quite frankly, my ego demanded it. Author's note. 2 years ago, I tried to retire for a third time, and I actually had a retirement seminar, I believe it was April of 2013, at which Klaus Kleinfeld came and spoke to the seminar attendees here at Guthrie Castle. But during the graduation dinner, I knew that I couldn't quit, and so it is now October of 2015, and I'm still working harder than ever at seminars here at Guthrie Castle. End of author's note. The idea led me to make a commitment to be a business coach. I reasoned that if other super successful business performers could deliver their proven wisdom and strategies to a willing and receptive audience of eager listeners ready to take bold action, so could I. I couldn't have been more wrong. The seminar crowd, perpetrators of the big lie. The Nazis taught us how effective the big lie could be. They shouted their propaganda so loudly and so often that we in the civilized world accepted their crimes until the brutal truth slapped us in the face. Today, pimple-faced neo-fascists scream there was no Holocaust, and a lot of well-meaning people believe them. At the time, a much smoother type, the success evangelists, are infiltrating the country, filling conference rooms and convention centers and feeding desperate audiences with the big lie about personal success. My introduction to the seminar subculture was a real eye-opener. It didn't take more than 5 minutes for me to realize what a seminar business is all about. The sad truth is nearly all seminars look alike. Most of them are the same distillation of conventional wisdom spoon-fed to you in outline form so you can copy it down. And if you're too slow or lazy to take notes, you can always buy the $495 to $2,995 tape set, manual, and even software packages conveniently set out at the table at the back of the room. They take all major credit cards. Author's note. Of course, now they have DVDs, CDs, podcasts, etc., all of which you can buy, some of which are free. And to reiterate, all my information, all my content is free on my website. And people ask me, why haven't I ever changed the content? And I said, because nothing's changed since I produced it in the late 90s. End of author's note. Even more to the point, if you listen to the tapes, if you actually read the book, you get the overwhelming feeling, yeah, that's right. I guess I already knew that. I just never saw it organized so neatly before. Of course, doofus, it all sounds familiar because you grew up listening to the same conventional wisdom these guys did. Now they are making money selling you the stuff that you heard all your life. Achieve a balance between business and life and your personal life. Make a list of what's good about yourself and stick it on a mirror. Make a list of what you need to do this week. Set achievable goals so you're not disappointed. Buy a used car because it's already depreciated. Get a 15-year mortgage instead of a 30-year mortgage. Crap, crap, crap. You may be one of those people who attends seminars, buys books and videotapes and cassettes, and the financial advice life support systems. If you are, then I suspect there are all lying around your home or office right now gathering dust. Thousands of dollars invested in advice your parents gave you for free and against your will years ago. Author's note. During me giving the seminar for 22 and a half years now, I have had attendees that have spent more than $250,000 on personal development paraphernalia, and most of which hasn't even been opened. End of author's note. But just as important as realizing the content of a typical seminar message is to expose the authority of the smooth-tongued performers who deliver their wisdom around the country and on late-night infomercials. I was appalled at the lack of business acumen of so many of the seminar presenters. Those personal motivation gurus that come to your city, those pearly teeth infomercial guys, the so-called authors that line the bookstores with how-to success books, they're mostly frauds. You need to ask yourself, how many of these business success experts have made any serious money? Damn few. Next, ask yourself if they have made their money in the business world. How many of them scraped their way to super success in the kill-or-die corporate environment? How many of them started from scratch and built a business empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars? Don't bother scratching your head. The answer is hardly any. Author's note. 6.5 years later, this is still true. With one or two exceptions, there is nobody that has made their fortune by any other method than putting asses in seminar seats and selling DVDs, CDs, and books. End of author's note. It didn't take me long to learn that most of the phonies have made what little money they have in seminar business, taking your money. I quickly discovered that I'm the only multimillionaire I know of on the seminar circuit who made his money in the real world, creating hundreds of millions dollar empire. As you will learn in the next chapter, I wasn't just exposed to $400 million on a transaction one day. I created a company that catapulted to a worth of over $400 million on a major stock exchange, starting with a phone, a leased fax machine, and $820. Another question. These people are supposed to be teaching you how to become successful, which is a code word for rich. But how many of them are multimillionaires? Few, if any. In fact, the only one I know is a good friend, Ted Nicholas, one of the finest marketing copywriters and self-publishing gurus in the country, maybe in the world. A lot of the rest live in rented properties and are dodging the tax man. Yes, they are telling you how to get rich. Author's note, that is still the case, except for Ted Nicholas, who's semi-retired now in Switzerland. He is the only one that I know that has made real money in the real world. End of author's note. Before you buy your next book or tape, consider the author and ask yourself, is this guy where I want to be? Is the success story the blueprint I want for my success? And did he make his money? And how did he make his money? In the business arena or selling books and tapes and putting butts in seminar seats? Think about it. I'm not going to tell you what I think you want to hear so you'll like me. I don't care if you like me or not. I also discovered something interesting about the roomfuls of seminar attendees I assumed were so eager to take bold action. I was stunned to discover that the level of apathy of the average seminar attendee. Most of them are more interested in hearing feel-good stories, pleasant proverbs, than the truth about becoming super successful. Most of them just want to be stroked, to hear you've already gotten within you what it takes to succeed. Reach inside and draw from the wealth of your own potential. They want validation that they're okay, in the tradition of I'm okay, you're okay. What crap. So why did Dan Pena, iconoclastic curmudgeon of the business world, decide to get into the seminar business and write a book? Because my goal is to change the way personal success development strategies and business success coaching are communicated in the world and make another ton of money, of course. Author's note, in recent years, having created over $50 billion with my mentees and devotees in real value, my goal is to be the most highly rated and most successful high-performance coach that walked the planet. End of author's note. I've implemented my success strategies continuously for most of the past 35 years and made tens of millions in the process. But I have another unique advantage that works to your benefit. I'm not going to tell you what I think you want to hear so you'll like me. I don't care if you like me or not. If you want a friend, buy a dog. I don't care if you don't listen to what I have to say. I'm not in the business to make friends and to be your friend. If you personally knew the very high performance of today, guys like Donald Trump, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, you'd understand they don't give a damn people like them or not. Personal acceptance by the masses is just not an agenda. I'm in the business to give you the opportunity to learn how to be enormously successful, even though half-truths and misinformation are easier to sell. I'm going to give you the no bullshit, unvarnished truth. Author's note. Donald Trump and Richard Branson are still at the top of their game. Steve Jobs passed away a couple years ago, God rest his soul. But it's even more evident that they don't really care what you think, especially with Donald Trump running for president in the United States. And as I read this book for this audio podcast, he's leading the polls in the Republican Party, and he may very well wind up being nominated by the Republican Party. End of author's note. When I first started lecturing, I talked to my audiences like I would talk to my staff, expletives and all. Half of those audiences, mostly women, would get up and leave the first 15 minutes. I didn't care because I was speaking with passion and true to life. This is the way super successful people talk in the glass towers of success, I told them, so get used to it. If they had seen the movie Wall Street, they had already heard a fairly representative dose of language used in the real world. They left anyway, and I was amazed to see their naivete. Author's note. The second edition of a movie like Wall Street, The Wolves of Wall Street, came out recently in the last couple of years, and it even reiterated more so how rough the Wall Street environment, although that was a bucket shop, and that's certainly not a Goldman Sachs, but the language and the actions of those people are not known or understood by most. End of author's note. My marketing advisor and the people who schedule seminars finally said to me, Dan, you've got to tone it down. Some of these people are really interested in what you've got to say, but you're offending them with your language. So I toned myself down to become a kinder, gentler Dan. Authors know that may have been the case in 2009, but in 2015, I'm not toned down at all, although I don't physically touch anybody in the seminars by hitting them as I did in some seminars, or I'm alleged to have done in the 90s, but the language is rough, as evidenced by my YouTube episodes. End of author's note. Paying the price for super success. Now that I've given you an idea of where I'm coming from, let's talk about some of the basics of becoming a super successful. To begin with, it's not easy. Every worthwhile goal in life has what I call a pay price to action. To achieve the goal, you must take action that requires you to pay a price in some other area. It's a trade-off. The mooches in the seminar circuit tell you you can have it all. You can be a well-rounded parent, make a bundle of money, and be loved by all. That's crap. The truth is that you have to give up something to get something. Throughout this book, you've got to ask yourself, what are you willing to give up or trade off to get what you want? Author's note. As of late 2015, the pay price to action is even more evident. There are new eccentric, shall we call them, executives like Elon Musk, who has said some pretty outrageous things, which I have to agree with most of them, about work ethic. We have Mr. Bezos of Amazon, who requires 80-hour work weeks. End of author's note. If you want to become an Olympic javelin throwing champion, for example, your pay price to action is giving up evenings and Saturdays with the boys or girls and throwing the javelin a zillion times. You may have to give up a beer and go on special energy building diet. You may even have to give up your job and get a new one that enables you to throw the javelin more. But you pay that price. You want to get to the Olympics, and you don't want to bring home a bronze or silver medal. You want a gold medal, and you're willing to pay the price. At the Olympics, Beijing Olympics in 2008, one superstar emerged at Beijing National Aquatic Center, the famous water cube, a young man who exemplified paying the price. During the years of preparation, American swimmer Michael Phelps sacrificed the carefree life of other guys his age so that he could become a gold medal athlete. His motto was eat, sleep, swim. As part of this monastic regimen, he avoided fans, friends, and even family members who might divert his time and attention from achieving his goal. It was a price he was willing to pay to be the best. It is not generally known, but Phelps was meeting and overcoming challenges long before he ever heard of the Olympics. When he was a child, a few experts doubted whether he would be able to accomplish anything. Even in preschool, teachers complained that he couldn't stay quiet, sit still, or concentrate. Your son will never be able to focus on anything, one teacher told his parents. He was later diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder. Author's note. I too suffer, if that's the right word, from ADHD, except at my age, they just said that I was a crazy kid. And as you get older, I've outgrown many of the symptoms, but I hopefully have retained the hyperactivity. End of author's note. Somewhere along the way, young Michael learned to focus. His typical 18-hour day prior to competition at Beijing 2008 began at 5 a.m. every morning. Every hour and minute was scheduled to reduce out-of-pool time. During the Olympics, to maximize TV viewership in the U.S., the preliminary competitions were held at night. The finals were held the next morning. Grueling day even for champions. Phelps dismissed talk of making schedules less strenuous. If you can't get up to a swim in the morning, don't go. The level of commitment leads to the next lesson. Super success, whether it's the Olympics or the boardroom, is not for everybody. When I was building my fortune, one price I paid was not seeing my family and not being home for 242 days, the first year of my daughter's life, and I was rarely home to celebrate the birthdays of my 3 kids. Author's note. My daughter just turned 29 and is successful as a manager with a Fortune 500 company, having received her master's degree about a year and a half ago from Northwestern University, and is doing well, although from time to time when she was younger, she did remind me of being gone 242 days. End of author's note. You may remember how Michael Phelps' commitment paid off. He won 8 gold medals in Beijing, eclipsing the record set by American swimming legend Mark Spitz at the Munich Olympiad in 1972. I wonder if Michael's childhood teachers and their other experts were watching. Author's note. In or about 1982, I had the pleasure of meeting Mark Spitz while in Israel, pitching the Israeli National Oil Company about a deal to drill for oil in Israel. End of author's note. The costly pay price to action may not be for you. It isn't for most people. That's why there are so few Ted Turners, Ross Perot's, and yes, Mary Kay Ashes in the world. But this is important. That's all right. Mark Zuckerberg followed the classic American success formula set by Bill Gates and other techno-whiz kids. Mark paid the price, spending more of his young years tinkering over a computer than he did being a typical teenager. The payoff, he redefined social networking for the 21st century and founded the enormously popular Facebook. The phenomenon now claims more than 70 million active users worldwide and gives Zuckerberg, a 23-year-old, very eligible bachelor, net worth of $1.5 billion. Yet I doubt whether he would recommend his path to super success for everyone. Author's note. Facebook, October 2015, has a subscriber base that approaches 1.5 billion people, and he is no longer a bachelor. In fact, I believe he's married, and I believe he's going to have a child soon, and his net worth is in the tens of billions. End of author's note. If you put into action just some of the strategies that I give you in this book, you'll be a whole lot more successful than you are today. And by the way, you'll save a lot of money by not buying more tapes and books, future seminars. A lot of people I talk to assume that you have to be incredibly intelligent in order to be highly successful. I'm living proof you don't. But let's suppose for a second that you have an IQ of 100. That's average. In this example, I might be taking some away from you, and on the other hand, I might be giving you a little. Those who've spent a lot of time seeking universal truth through seminars, books, and tapes, and those who ask me obtuse questions during seminars probably have what I call a room temperature IQ, a comfortable 72. Let's also pretend I've got 100 IQ as well, although my old pals from school days would argue the point. Can anyone have 10 times our IQ? As far as I know, the highest IQ ever recorded were in the 240 range. 160 will qualify you for membership in the high IQ group called Mensa. So it's not possible for anyone to have 10 times our IQ or even 5 times our IQ. So how the hell do people make 10 times more money than you make? How do people make 100 or 1,000 times what you make if they can't have 100 or 1,000 times your IQ? How? I'll tell you how. Because they dream bigger than you. Their expectations are higher than yours. That's how. One of my colleagues in recent years has been Peter Sage, an energetic and highly successful British entrepreneur, adventurer, and international bon vivant. Peter says that when he has an inspiration for a new venture, if he has an idea of how to bring it to reality, he's thinking too small. Now, that's my kind of thinking. Author's note. Yes, I do have a significantly higher IQ than 100, but I'm certainly no genius. End of author's note. I'm often asked if I had my life to live over again, what would I change? I'd only change one thing. I'd set my goals higher. That's right. With all my medical success, I'd still set my goals higher. What about you?
Super success, not for the touchy-feely. Have you set goals that allow you to be all that you can be? If not, reading this book will be an astonishing revelation. At the risk of overstatement, reading this book could change your life. Following the systems and methodology in the chapters ahead could change the course of your destiny. I say could because you must take action to change. Change is absolutely essential. I want you to understand right now that doing the same things over and over, like you've always done them, and expecting different results is insanity. Author's note, having published the second edition in 2009, refreshing it from the first edition, I can say categorically that we have a 100% track record for changing lives. Whether it's 5% or 95% is up to you. End of author's note. You see, these high-performance individuals like yourself achieve super success because they want it more than you. They forge favorable circumstances by using the two advantages of high-performance business people, practice skills and force of good habits. Or as Jim Ryan, the former world record holder in the mile, said, motivation gets you started, habits keep you going. Trust me on this, intelligence has nothing to do with it. Take some risks. The super successful also have a different perspective on risk. Several years ago, a guy named Charlie Gibbons made a ton of money on a book he called Wealth Without Risk. He put together a whole program based on money-making, money-saving ideas, hired some used car salesmen, and peddled his program in hotel conference rooms all over the country. A close examination of the book revealed that virtually all his ideas were little ideas to make a little money here, save a little money there, stuff any financial advisor could tell you. The only people who grew anywhere near super successful were Gibbons and his inner circle of associates. His converts saved a few bucks on insurance premiums, made a little money in real estate, mostly flipping houses, and thought they were rich. But without taking risks, they were all small potatoes, and eventually the Gibbons organization was dragged into court and has long since disappeared. Gibbons' legacy is the half-hour paid advertising TV program, The Infomercial, and a generation of skilled and dapper pitchmen who still work the seminar circuit, trying with only limited success to replicate the Gibbons phenomenon. The genuinely super successful understand that risk is necessary to grow. In my seminars, I refer to the quantum leap, an explosive geometric growth in your company that merely more sales or more locations could never achieve. A quantum leap requires risk. One of my favorite disciples was a young man named Fidel Vargas, one of a group of mid-90s I call the Mexican morons. I quickly saw Fidel's potential and paid for him to attend a seminar at my Guthrie Castle in Scotland. Much like myself, Fidel was a product of the Los Angeles barrio, except that this Latino firebrand completed his undergraduate work and an MBA at Harvard. He also made national news several years ago by becoming the youngest mayor in the United States at age 23 of Baldwin Park, California. These days, he runs a venture capital fund and an investment firm in Southern California. QLA made some lasting impressions on Fidel. Author's note, Fidel has since left his venture capital firm and is now the CEO of the Hispanic Scholarship Fund, where he's helping thousands of Hispanics get into university every year. End of author's note. Dan Pena struck me immediately as larger than life, Fidel said recently, somebody determined to squeeze every last drop of juice out of life. The lessons of QLA are simple but powerful. You've got to take risks to be really successful. You've got to be willing to throw your hat over the wall and commit yourself to your dream. Dan also taught me that most obstacles to success are created in an imagination driven by fear of defeat and by listening to the platitude of conventional wisdom. If you're already in business, you understand risk. Remember when you first got started, didn't establishing that business require risk? Didn't marriage require an element of risk, or raising kids, or buying a new home? Then why do so many people who take risks in other areas of their lives shudder at the taking risks in growing their business? No matter how tight your strategy and how sure of success you are on a given deal, the specter of risk lurks at your side until signatures are on paper and the money is in your pocket, in your bank, and preferably spent. I believe that if you're not taking risks to grow your business, it begins to wither. I hate someone to tell me everything is running smoothly. By definition, I know their business is not growing anymore and probably dying. They have forgotten that from chaos comes order. Some people take a risk or two and fail and retreat beneath their shell of safety. Failure destroys their self-confidence, sometimes for the rest of their life. In 1955, at the height of the Cold War, everybody had atomic bombs on their minds. School kids were drilled to hide under their desks so that the 50 megaton bomb detonated downtown would miss them. But my father, an LA policeman, was lured into investing $10,000 in the Lucky 13 Mining Company, an outfit with uranium mines in Nevada. It was a con job, a scam, and he lost his 10 grand, which in 1955 was a small fortune. But maybe more damaging to him than the financial loss, he was disgraced in front of his family and friends and laughed at for years afterwards. 1958, my dad had a chance to buy an undeveloped piece of land northwest Los Angeles for $3,000, the intersection of Topanga Canyon and Ventura Boulevards, all four corners. He turned it down, no use being made a fool of twice. He must have figured the next time the property was sold, it went for $640,000, then $3.5 million, then $8 million. The last time we looked, one corner sold for $12 million. For the rest of his days, Dad didn't like to drive up in northwest LA around Woodland Hills. One failure drained his resolve to ever take another risk. Never fear failure. Understand it. The super successful also have a different take on failure. They understand that failure is what happens when you do something. The greatest successes in the world also experience the greatest failures. The all-time strikeout record in Major League Baseball is held today by Babe Ruth. But we don't remember him for strikeouts. We remember him for setting a home run record that stood for decades, long before performance-enhancing drugs destroyed America's love affair with baseball. No one cares about the Babe strikeouts. The point is that he kept swinging the damn bat. Most of us never get out of the dugout, let alone up on the plate. Those people not only wonder why they never hit a home run, they even begrudge the determined hitters who do. Donald Trump has lost billions in his financial deals, but who cares? He has made billions more with successful ventures, and he just keeps swinging at the bat. After stumbling into the New World, Christopher Columbus failed in the subsequent exploration and died a poor and disappointed man. But on Columbus Day, do we celebrate his dying destitute? Of course not. We celebrate his success. Author's note, Donald Trump is currently leading the polls for the Republican Party for President of the United States. End of author's note. This reminds me of a story about Tom Watson Sr., founder of IBM, being asked by a young management trainee, "Sir, how do I get to the top of the management ladder?" Watson immediately replied, "Double your failure rate, son. Double your failure rate." His point was, of course, that more failures could only result in more tries, more initiatives, more risk-taking, all the actions required for growth. Most of Tom Edison's experiments failed miserably, thousands of them. He thought direct electrical current, DC, was the answer to lighting the world, and the alternating current, AC, was passing fad. He was wrong, and nobody cares. Instead, we're indebted to Edison's genius and his determination whenever we turn on a light bulb or hear recorded music or watch a movie. For the super successful, failure is a valuable lesson. It is a road not to take again, or at least under the same conditions, and then they move on. Failure is nothing more than testing. As Edison said, success is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. To the high-performance person, fear is false expectations appearing real. The surefire formula for failure, try to please everybody. That's the biggest reason most people never achieve success. They try to keep everybody happy. As a result, they fail, and people they were trying to please don't give a damn. Instead of listening to everyone around them, they should have consulted with themselves. They should have trusted their instincts. They should have listened to their intuition. As a high-performance person, you have the confidence in your judgment to stand by whatever decision you make. Listen to your intuition. It's almost always right. Intuition plays a strong role in the decision-making process of a high performer. Over the years, women have tried to monopolize intuition. Women's intuition is a given, but what about men's intuition? I think intuition is what we call instinct in animals, a primal survival skill. All of us have a sense, a gut feeling about intuition affecting our best interest. Usually we run into problems when we ignore our intuition. Nowadays, the tyranny of computers has undermined our reliance on intuition. Too often, we excel things to death. Suppose you're a guy at a party and you meet an attractive woman. Her smile seems, well, more than friendly. She touches you a lot innocently. You know she's hot. You don't need to run back to your office and excel it. You don't have to think about it. You know. Business is much the same. But conventional wisdom dictates we overcomplicate issues because, after all, our world is very complicated now. The internet, personal computers, and other electronic breakthroughs we wouldn't have dreamed of 20 years ago give us to a universe of information we can use. I personally believe that the reliance on the computer can be a single biggest drawback to being a high-performance entrepreneur. But even I got online in April 2001 because it has become an integral part of our personal and business lives. Forget what others think. Too many worry about what others think and about their decision that they do the wisdom of the decision itself. What are the guys that I play golf with are going to think? What will obnoxious cousin Rudy say? Or Aunt Martha, who has cartoons of Amway products in her garage? Come on, do you think Bill Gates gives a hoot what others think? You think Trump gives a damn for the opinions of experts making a fraction of his money? Of course he doesn't. The fact is, you should have all the data you need to make a decision. You've done your investigation and due diligence. You've met and sized up other players. Somewhere deep inside, your gut tells you this is an opportunity you need to seize. In contrast, the high-performance person, such as myself, measures the risks, makes the decision, takes action, and never thinks, well, maybe I should have done this or that. Maybe I made a mistake. As a high-performance person, you have the confidence in your judgment to stand by whatever decision you make, and you've got more to do than second-guess yourself. You've got the important decisions. You may move on without looking back. I often say, I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt. How else could I have made those 75,000 business decisions? Author's note, I've made many more than 75,000 business decisions by now, approximately 100,000. End of author's note. Never look back. One more prerequisite for super success. The high-performance person never looks back. Do you know someone who suffers from terminal buyer's remorse? That individual shops for a new car, new home, new dress, or new anything and then makes a purchase. The next day, he or she begins to revisit all the reasons the item they didn't purchase was a better buy. Soon they're miserable. If they can, they return the item for a refund and start the same torturous shopping process over again. They'll never be satisfied because they don't have confidence in their ability to make decisions. Make every decision as if it was your drop-dead final word on the matter. Down the line, you may have to do a mid-course correction based on the dynamics of business, but that's not looking back. That's keeping your eyes forward toward where you're headed. Big difference. Make the sacrifice of pay price to action. Take risks. Don't fear failure. Listen to your intuition. Avoid conventional wisdom. Ignore what others think and never look back. As we prepare to launch into the tactics and strategies of the high performers, you may have already figured out this is not going to be a comfy drip through mainstream thinking. Like they say in Texas, where I learned the oil business, this book is written for those who want to hunt with the big dogs and pee in the tall grass. Super success is not for the wishy-washy. Victory is business like war. Comes to the toughest son of a bitch in the valley, not the touchy-feely. I cannot think of a single high-performance success who is touchy-feely. If they exist, I never met one. High performers are the gladiators of the glass towers. They're tough, they take action, but never take prisoners. They make mistakes and never look back, and they make a lot of money. I don't care if I have to drag, push, slap, kick, or cajole you to super success. You will not necessarily like me, but I don't give a damn. What I do give a damn about is making you into super success and helping you make enormous sums of money. If you're interested, we'll get down to the specifics soon enough, but first you need to understand who I am. As you know, Dan Pena has the credentials to kick your apathy into action for the next 12 chapters.